Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Disney Plus Asian Pacific American Heritage Month panel. I'm Lacey Verasi Banis, the Parental Guidance Editor for Entertainment Weekly, and I'm joined by Bing Chen of the nonprofit organization Gold House, a collective of Asian and Pacific Islander founders, creative voices, and leaders. We are so excited to introduce our guests for this discussion celebrating this important month. We have Karan Brar, who just directed an episode of the 5th season of Bunked, Sway Bhatia, who's currently carving up the ice on the Mighty Ducks Game Changers, Peyton Elizabeth Lee, who will soon be seen in the Disney Plus reboot of Doogie Howser called Doogie Kamealoha MD, and finally, Leela Ladnier, who voices Mira in Mira Royal Detective. Let's get right to it. Bing, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. First and foremost, it's such a privilege to be here as a non-talented person, especially with sort of the new and now faces of not only the API community, but I think candidly what the world is now seeing as great talent. So it's again, thank you for having me. It's such a great privilege to be here. I think the first question that was often asked is, when you were growing up, is there an Asian and Pacific Islander hero that you had, whether fictitious or otherwise? So the truth is, when I was young, since I was 3, my heroes were Gandhi, Mother Teresa, MLK Jr., and Walt Disney, who I thought was Mickey Mouse. And Gandhi and Mother Teresa are, of course, Asian. So I actually, to be honest, never grew up without heroes that were real life that looked like all of us. I also, in the fictitious world, thought Mickey Mouse was Asian because he has black hair. And so Mickey was always Asian to me. So yeah, I wish I could give you a victimized story of I never felt seen, but I always felt seen at the highest level, whether it was in helping Calcutta in Mother Teresa's case, or, fighting for whole new worlds with Mickey Mouse.
I love that answer.
That's so great. Honestly, unlike how you felt, I mean, I don't really remember having like distinct Asian, heroes in my life, or seeing people on screen that I really related to on that level. But I do remember distinctly, after watching Crazy Rich Asians, I wanted to be Gemma Chan. I was like, when I grow up, I just want to be Gemma Chan in Crazy Rich Asians. So that's what it was for me.
I had a similar experience as Peyton did. I unfortunately didn't have a crazy amount of representation growing up. I wish I was mature enough, Bing, to have your kind of heroes and consider, what the state of the world is, and not just constantly watching television as a kid. But I think for me, this is kind of a weird answer, but Dev Patel was the first time I really felt seen on screen with Slumdog Millionaire, because it had gotten so much critical acclaim. It was in the media, and he was in the media everywhere. I think that was the first time where I connected the dots that, oh, someone that looks like me can be in those predominantly white spaces.
Yeah, and I grew up with Bollywood, so I had a whole world of people that I was able to look up to, and it may not have been in this country that I'm currently in, but just having something like Bollywood that I can look up to. There's so many actors. It's full of people that look like me in the Bollywood industry. One of them is mainly Priyanka Chopra. I mean, everything she does has inspired me as a person, and as somebody in the acting industry, I actually got so privileged to be able to do my first performance with her. I was like 3 years old, having no clue what I was doing. I went on stage too early and I was dancing in front of her, and that was my first performance, and I had the time of my life. I don't remember it so much, but I know I did really enjoy it. But I have to say, as being a big Disney fan just growing up, honestly, Karan, you were like one of my biggest inspirations, because Jessie was my jam. I watched that over and over when I came back from school, and just seeing somebody that looked like me was so empowering, and watching you play the sitar when you did, I was just so inspired by that, and it gave me an empowering message as an actor myself back then. I was like, I would be able to do that. I can do that now. I think that could be me one day, and surprisingly, I get to do it today. So I think that's so amazing that we have people like that we can look up to, and it's important to have that because it's really amazing.
Yeah, so one of the reasons I'm so proud to be part of this now is because, I mean, unfortunately, I relate to not having too many, characters that I could look up to as a young girl that weren't stereotypical or feeding offensive content. But I mean, I will say Karan's character in Jessie really was, it was just so fun getting to see him play an Indian boy on Disney. Just that within itself was so exciting to see, and getting to be in a show with him now, I think is so, it's just come so full circle for me. I can't even process it sometimes, just watching the kind of the first Indian kid on Disney, and then now there's this whole show that's celebrating our culture. So I'm really excited about that.
I feel really old now.
No, you're an icon. This is a good thing.
Where it starts. You have now entered that level of that stratosphere of icon. It is very incredible and so well deserved. Actually, let's start with you, Karan, the icon. Obviously.
That will be, can someone please change my Zoom name to Karan, the icon Brar?
Yeah.
I'd really appreciate that.
Someone get on
that. Obviously, you're a prolific actor, but you're really now getting into directing, which has been so exciting to see. Have you found that you can affect more change diversity-wise from behind the camera or in front of it?
See, that's so challenging because I think that there is so much creative power on both sides of the screen. But I do feel like when it comes to directing and producing and creating things behind the scenes, those decisions are setting up a domino effect that's going to ideally affect a generation and how they feel and how they emotionally relate to a piece of content. So I think on that side of things, there's definitely a bit more weight with the kinds of decisions you're making and how you can impact diversity in a really positive way and make sure that you're being inclusive to the most marginalized person in the room.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really important because we can't have more people on screen more people who look like us on screen if we don't have more people who look like us behind the camera too. Sway, with Mighty Ducks, you're part of this storied franchise, which even for the mid-90s had a respectable amount of diversity, but not much in the way of AAPI representation. And I actually looked it up last night. In the entire NHL history, you can count on one hand the number of South Asian players there have been. So you really broke ground as far as the cast and playing a South Asian hockey player. Did the weight of this ever hit you?
Honestly, it was really amazing getting to be that, because I think what happened was that I actually, when I was doing my research about, hockey and what it's like to become a hockey player, I didn't, like you mentioned, I didn't have people that I could look at and be like, oh, well, that's somebody that looked like me. Let me go research about them and see how they felt playing hockey. But there was really nobody to look up to in that way. So it was inspiring to me getting to be a role model for younger kids and young girls of color, especially knowing that I'm, I guess, one of the first South Asian hockey players in a way. Maybe not in real life, but who knows? One day. You never know.
I think I'd be a winner if I could be the best version of me.
But it was awesome getting to play that, because I guess I'm breaking stereotypes in a way, because getting to play something that you don't see often is so special to me. I feel that on a lot of things that I've done. I think that's a really amazing feeling. Know that you're either one of the first or one of the onlys, and I think just getting to play hockey and do something that was out of the ordinary for people like us was awesome. And getting to work with people like Emilio Estevez and Lauren Graham, and getting to meet Kenny Wu, who was that one Asian on the original Mighty Ducks, was awesome. It's really empowering getting to see that.
That's great. Peyton, not only are you rebooting an iconic character, but you're the polar opposite of the original in that you're female and multiracial. I think we're really at a tipping point as far as diversity in Hollywood. Do you think this reboot could have been done in this way before now?
That's such an interesting question. I mean, obviously, it's a hypothetical that, I don't know, but I definitely do think that it is very timely, and that it is coming at a time where there is this new wave of representation in entertainment, which is so exciting to be a part of, and to sort of take a piece of iconic, entertainment and bring it into, the world we live in now, and modernize it and contribute to that new level of representation.
Yeah, it's I think the same thing with what Sway was talking about. It's great stepping into these things that have been not representative of us before that, but there's I think there's also a huge responsibility and a huge pressure for us as we go forward.
Let's hear it for Mira, Royal Detective.
Leela, Mira Royal Detective has been praised for its cultural authenticity. Did you get to weigh in on Mira's characteristics?
So I'm really fortunate in the sense that I'm not going to say I had lower expectations when I started working on the project, but I just didn't. There was no way for me to prepare for how authentic and how committed Disney was to making sure that this project really encompasses everything that I love about my culture and would want my kids to watch. And I really hope that young kids can feel seen by this, because, you know, they might not know it, but the girl that's getting to play the character is so proud of what she's contributing to, because, you know, when I have input on, like you said, when I have input on anything, it's a really safe space, and I feel comfortable enough to contribute any ideas that I think someone might have missed, or something we could hone in on a little bit more to make it even more authentic. And it's a really good feeling to know that this is really an authentic project because everyone involved is so committed to it.
Now, Karan, you are also on Mira, Royal Detective. Did you also have a similar experience where you felt open enough to be sharing any of your own experiences?
It's a really open and collaborative environment over at Mira the Royal Detective. And what's nice is, as we've gone through the project, animation takes so long, we've been invited into those spaces to like witness, early on animation, what it's going to look like, but also just things down to the way that we act and the gestures that we do in the booth are noted down and put into the show. So there's a lot of time and care taken into, like, from things like the way that we're acting all the way over to how our culture is represented. We have a lot of references and a lot of people that we go to for guidance about, okay, what should the show look like? What should it be like? And what's the most authentic way to represent our culture? And we already kind of have that built-in infrastructure, which is great, which I think, Leela, I don't mean to speak for you, but at least for me, it makes me feel super comfortable knowing that the project is in really good hands.
Totally.
It's really great. I'm going to go back to general questions. It's really been an incredibly tumultuous year for the Asian Pacific American community. What do you want kids who look like you and who are watching this now to know? Ben, can you actually speak to that first?
Hard question. Yeah, I actually would love to go around the horn. I think there are two things that help a community rally and sort of fight back, both adversity and affirmation. We all know the stats around the historically high attacks, but Goldhouse, myself, and it's clear on this panel, we're all focused on affirmation. How do we show sort of a new face and a new power? And so just to go around the horn, this may feel cheesy, but I was taking notes as you each were speaking, and so much of what you're saying and I think represent is what the world needs right now, not just for APIs, but everyone. I mean, Karan, like the fact that you are a multi-hyphenate actor director is demonstrative of the new face of talent. You can no longer just be one thing, candidly. You have to write, you have to direct, you have to produce, because while, you know, his question was about which side of the camera is more powerful, the answer is really both. And I respect so much that he's doing both. And I think you're seeing a lot more talent realize that. Sway, I love what you said earlier too about, in the words of our Indian Madam Vice President, Kamala Harris, you might be the first, but you cannot be the last. And the reality is, being one of the only South Asians, and South Asian young ladies, by the way, on the ice is incredibly powerful. We know that media and showing people what's possible is a predicator of what becomes possible. I'm much older than you all, again, just to remind us for the fifth time, but I remember when I saw a Black president of the world in the 90s, and I remember thinking, there's a Black president of the world? And sure enough, 2 decades later, we saw one in the Oval Office. So I think that's incredibly important. I love two pieces of what Peyton said as well. The reality is there's a lot of sort of interesting debate about multiracial folks. And the reality is mixed race births have actually outpaced non-mixed race births in this country. And it's entirely driven by the Asian, the Latino diasporas. So by the way, more and more people / disproportionate percentage are starting to look like Peyton. And I think that's a beautiful thing. My children will likely look like that too one day, not to be weird. But I think embracing all past That's weird to say. But embracing all ethnicities is so profoundly important because we are the most diverse race in the world. And the other piece I like about what Peyton represents in Doogie Howser's, I actually watched the original Doogie Howser. It changed my life because I remember when we were young, all our parents would say you can be a doctor, a lawyer, or a failure. And I remember us hearing that and being like, oh, so I shouldn't be a doctor because that's sort of like, you know. But let's look back at the last 18 months. Who has saved the world? It is doctors. And a disproportionate percentage of those on the front line as nurses, as social caseworkers and so forth, as well as even the guy who invented the N95 mask are people who look like us. And so I love that Peyton is owning that as an Asian young lady and saying it's not actually corny and stereotypical to be a doctor. This is a strength. And we have to be proud of some of those identities. And then the final piece that I love what Leela said is, and this is going to sound privileged, but I do believe it is, my mom used to say there are two ways to live your life, is if the world is stacked against you, or is if the world is conspiring to help you. And what I love about what Leela said and what the Walt Disney Company definitively does, and I'm not just saying this to be sycophantic, we have the privilege of knowing this in our consultative work with the studio, is how committed and collaborative both Disney and the broader Hollywood space are to getting D&I and D right? The fact that Leela, the fact that Karan just articulated, yes, you are handed a script, but also, yes, this is a collaborative process is really important for us to know. And I think too often a lot of the, dare I say, like faux activists of the world on Twitter will lament that the system is stacked against them. But I think a lot of us would attest that actually it's the opposite. Actually, the system is here conspiring to help us. It's just a matter of how long it takes to get there. And so anyway, so I go around the horn, not just to like be new friends, but really to demonstrate like in this fight for equity, in this fight for visibility, it takes all of us in all kinds. And once again, because we are the most diverse and fastest growing populace, it is going to take each of these multi-hyphenates, being the first, multiracial, reinforcing strong imagery, and also conspiring with the system to get there.
That was a very powerful answer.
All right, so goodbye, everyone. That was great. Have a good day. I don't know what anyone can say after that.
I was all about y'all. You already said the hard part. So you've done the work. That's the hard part.
Does anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, everything you said is so true and I feel like resonates so closely with me. And honestly, I have experienced firsthand the empowerment and the inspiration that is felt when you see people that look like you doing the things that you want to do. And so it's so exciting to see all of you who are doing just that. You are connecting with these young people around the world and showing them through the screen that they can be and do whatever they want, not despite, but because of who they are and what they look like in the life that they've led. So if anything, I hope from watching anything that I've been in and everything that you guys have been in, that that is what is really remembered, is that empowerment and that feeling of I can do and be whatever I want.
Yeah, just to add on, I think it's really important. I didn't realize really until I started working on Mira just how much it meant to me to be represented and to feel more connected to my culture and not try to kind of run away from that part of myself. Not that I did, but there was always sort of this disconnect in, you know, what I thought I was supposed to act like or supposed to like being in this country. I really hope that little kids watch our shows and see these strong, empowered characters and realize that the kind of world that we're trying to create now is just as much available for them, and hopefully this is breaking down stereotypes, and hopefully it's showing that our skin color isn't the only thing that matters, and that every single person deserves to be represented so that they can show the deeper layers of themselves and what more they have to offer. I've gotten so many messages from friends and family who just have seen this shift in their kids' confidence just from watching these characters who are unapologetically themselves and who don't look to others to solve their problems for them. And that's just such a gratifying feeling. And I can't believe I'm a part of that.
Art is supposed to be a reflection of society, and thus it's also supposed to be an accountability system for our society. And I think one thing we need to acknowledge is that we are seeing Asians in so many different fields and so many different places across the world. and it's becoming really diverse. We're no longer seeing Asians as just doctors and lawyers. We're seeing them as real human beings, and thus art needs to do the same. We need to create multidimensional characters that represent what real life Asians are like, which is we exist in multiplicity. We exist as not just one thing or one career path. We exist as a lot of different artists, a lot of different creatives, a lot of different people in a lot of different spaces. So it's really important that in our industry, we keep doing the good work and the good fight to keep pushing that line forward of making sure diversity is kept up to the highest standard, because it's also going to push our society to a better direction, to be more inclusive and to open up spaces. And hopefully there'll be less barriers of entry for marginalized people.
Yeah, just adding on to like what everybody said, like I totally agree with everybody. And just having, I think for me, what happened was like for me growing up, like I mentioned before, just seeing people that looked like me empowered me and just made me feel more powerful in a way. I think there was a period in my life where I guess I wasn't watching as much TV, or just I wasn't seeing as much Asian representation as I should have been seeing, because it's just when you see something like that, it's comforting. It's powerful to me. And I know I have a lot of little cousins because we got big families. You know what I mean? You know, they're always telling me I'm gonna be like you one day, or I'm gonna be a hockey player one day. And I remember I had one of my cousins came up to me and they had a printed out picture of my hockey smush face, and they were like, "Would you please sign this?" And I was like, wow, I've never felt so amazing in my entire life. Just having somebody recognize you for something you've done and remembering you as somebody or something that you've represented. And I think what's so special about actors is that you get to become somebody that you're not in your real life. I mean, it has its pros and its cons in a way, because I mean you're supposed to relate to your character, but also you have to find what ways you can be different than your own person, because sometimes you play evil characters, sometimes you play the good guy, and sometimes you're a little bit of both, in which I feel that because my character Sophie does some sketchy stuff in the show, and I tell my cousins all the time, don't ever do that. Just don't do that at all. I had to do some fun stuff, but I think what's special is that I found ways to relate to her and be more like her, and that's what we all experience, is that characters are so diverse, in not only in the way they look, but in their personalities, and you can never have one same person. It's you never know what you're going to audition for, and that's what's so special about the industry.
I think it's also important to note that not only do we as a community want kids who look like us to see characters who look like them on TV, but also I think it's just as important for white children to see characters who look like us on television and in films. They need to know, oh, right, the world looks past what I look like. So I think there's that added layer of importance for sure.
Yeah. And I honestly, just adding on to that real quick, is that, you know, I think that just like you said, just as important as it is for us to see people that look like us, it's important for everyone else to see people that look like us, because it promotes this level of empathy and this level of these stories that you can watch. And because it's on your TV, you know, you're so immersed in it. And then when you turn it off, it's, you know, that maybe it doesn't remind me of me, but it reminds me of my friend or my neighbor. And I think that is equally powerful.
Yeah, and I think the only way we're going to move in a direction where diversity is normalized instead of being, I don't know, just when Mira was announced, it was like, you know, this first of its kind thing, and I want to live in a world where, you know, an entire cast of people that look like me isn't, you know, so monumental, as amazing as that is. Hopefully the direction we're going in is that everyone can see parts of themselves in each other, and there's such a great divide, because that can be really toxic and really hard to carry the weight of that sometimes. So hopefully the direction we're moving in is that these amazing shows are laying the groundwork for the normalization of the amazing diversity.
Yeah, just quickly, really quickly adding on to that is that we're in 2020, and that's crazy to think that all these firsts are happening now. Or wait, we're in 2021. I don't know what world we're in. But it's crazy to think that it's this year or this century, this time, we're only hearing all these firsts. And just like Leela was mentioning, is that it's great knowing that we're celebrating all these firsts, but it really shouldn't be happening now. It should have been happening a long time ago. And it's obviously it's great that it's happening, but it should keep happening more. We should start getting into this schedule, so to say, that we know what it feels like, and it's not like, oh wow, that's so cool, that's never happened before. It should be like, oh, there's another one of those. That's so cool, nice to see that again. And it should really become normalized because it's super important to see that.
Please right though. I mean, last year I'm told didn't count, so it's still 2020 right now. So you're right.
Okay, great.
The second place, right, is as Karan was mentioning. I mean, art has a responsibility to at once be a reflection of reality, and it's just currently not. You know, like 50% of the 51% of the population is women, 2/3 is Asian. Period. And we know that TV and film do not look that way, and so reality just needs to catch up. But I think, secondly, again, not to again be sycophantic, but I think what this group really represents is art has a responsibility to predict the future or bring it closer. And so, once again, it's the first South Asian, hockey player, or the first, teenage, really, South Asian hockey player. We have a responsibility to bring in what is possible because most of us have only seen through our own eyes. So we don't actually know what is possible around the world.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that you even have a tuk-tuk behind you, Bing, because
on brand, we know we're speaking.
Totally on brand. And of course, we know that Raya is the first, Disney's first Southeast Asian princess. And I think, even though I'm Korean, I just seeing Raya in action, just as it was when I saw Mulan as a child, it was, it still brought a tear to my eye, but for a lot of reasons, not only for it being, for her being Disney's first Southeast Asian princess, but also that is 2021 and it's Disney's first Southeast Asian princess. So there's a lot to consider and a lot of pressure on you guys, especially to continue perpetuating this diversity and both opening those doors and keeping them open for those behind you. Going back to personal questions, Karan, for several years, you've done this really cool thing on your birthday where you ask people a question. This year, I think it was, when were you most proud of yourself? And so now I'm going to throw it back on you. When were you most proud of yourself?
Ooh, when was I most proud of myself? I think this is really recent, and I don't mean to phone in an answer, but it is honest. I probably with directing, I felt really proud of myself just because the amount of directors that we've had come through. I've seen a lot of directors come through being on sitcoms. A majority of them are white and they're older white men, and that's fantastic. They come with so much experience and they're so incredibly talented, and I got to learn from them. But at the same time, I never saw anyone that looked like me sit in the director's chair and helm an entire group of people to make a TV show. So for me, I was excited to do it, but I was really terrified to. And at the end of it, I was like, oh, I did this. I can do this. I'm capable of doing this. And people like me can do this as well. And I think that's when I was most proud of myself. Was being able to sit in that chair and call cut and then go, okay, the job's done. I did it. And I think I did it pretty well.
That's great. Sway, I know you're also a very talented drummer, and I've also seen some rapping, which was amazing. And I don't mean to put you on the spot. And if it's not too much of a hassle, I was wondering if there were any bars that you could drop for us, or if you're not comfortable with, getting out your own stuff. I loved especially with In the Heights coming up soon. I know you did 96,000. If whatever you're most comfortable with, or you could also tell me, no, I definitely don't want to be doing that now.
Whoa. Okay. Well, okay. Well, let's see. I did that a long time ago, but I can try. Okay, I feel like an old lady now. Like, I can try one of those old songs I did when I was younger. Yeah, okay. 96,000. 96,000. What are the lyrics? Man, 96,000. Oh, work, work, Angelica, work, work, Eli. Nope, that's Hamilton. I can do my shot. There we go. Okay.
Go for it.
Um, I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot. Hey, yo, I'm just like my country. I'm young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. I'ma get a scholarship to go to college. I probably shouldn't brag, but dag, I'm amazed and astonished. The problem is I got a lot of brains with no polish. I gotta holler just to be heard with every word. I drop knowledge. I'm a diamond in the rough, a shiny piece of coal, trying to reach my goal. My power of speech unimpeachable. Only 13, but my mind is older. These new things you got cold at shoulder. I like Hamilton. I am SWAY. Yeah, that's me, and I am meant to be. Woo, throwback. Okay. Watch Hamilton on Disney Plus. Wow. Whoa.
I loved it. Thank you so much. That was incredible. That was really, really impressive. Lin well. Give her a call. Peyton, you were filming. Are you still in Hawaii, or are you?
I am, yeah, for a couple more weeks.
So you're in Hawaii. What has been so far the most memorable thing that has happened while you're filming there?
The most memorable thing. Oh, so on the first day of shooting, they did this blessing, this Hawaiian blessing, where the whole cast and the whole crew, and because of COVID, we had to, spread out and wear masks and face shields and all that. But we all, got together and had this whole like ceremony with this water from the top of this mountain here. And the whole thing was just about blessing the set with love and light and the energy to create something that translates that love and light on screen and to the people watching it. And I just remember it was like the sun was rising over the ocean and we were all standing together, and it was this really beautiful moment like I've never experienced before, because usually the first day of set it's like, hi, nice to meet you, let's go, right? And this, it was like everyone was just standing together and breathing in this morning and just getting excited to start something that would hopefully, promote love and acceptance and support. And yeah, that was probably the most memorable thing here.
That's so cool. And had you ever experienced anything like that on any set before?
Nothing even close. Again, usually it's like, hi, I'm Peyton, nice to meet you, let's go, right? Like getting hair and makeup, do you know your lines, that kind of a thing, and this was very much like, it's important that we take this moment to come together and realize that what we're doing is not just about us, but about, everyone that's going to see it. So it was very grounding and very exciting, and it was beautiful. And I've never experienced anything even close.
That's wonderful. Leela, I've read that you've been involved in musical theater for almost your entire life. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I was wondering, what would be your dream Broadway role?
I think, well, yeah, so that's kind of how I just got started and everything. I've been playing music since I was really little, and then there's, after school shows with my school, and then I realized that I loved acting, and so, yeah, love musical theater. But probably Zoe from Dear Evan Hansen.
Oh.
The like the sister, I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, she's just that's a great show. So
yeah, I love, she has some great songs and great duets in that musical. So that was
a very disorganized answer, but yes. Sum it up.
No, and I just want to say for the record that the only reason I'm not putting you on the spot is because I know you're under the weather a little bit, and I definitely didn't want to do that to you, but yeah, just so.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And now back to general questions. I I wanted to actually ask, I figured, I'm a little hungry myself right now. So I was wondering, what is your favorite Asian Pacific American dish to eat?
Ooh, give me some butter chicken and naan, and I am happy.
I'm a vegetarian.
Me too.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
I just had Indian food, but I love Indian food, period. But I have to say, my go-to has always been paneer makhni, and that's basically like vegetarian butter chicken, if it makes any sense. And definitely with a good garlic naan. But I have to say, I'm obsessed with kulfi. That's an Indian dessert, and oh man, it is the life. It is the life. My grandma always gives it to me, and you get it either in like these little bars or like little ice cream cups, and it's so amazing. It's just my life. So Indians are great cooks, by the way. And I know we're supposed to be handling Indian food, and spicy food, but I just can't. So I'm sad to say I can't handle spicy food, but it is some good food.
I would say soup dumplings.
Mm.
A special place in my heart will always be gulab jamun, which is these
Yes.
little balls of happiness and joy and beauty of their dessert. It's so, so good. India Sweets and Spices and Indian Market makes the best. So definitely go eat that.
And what about you, Bing?
I'm at the age where my metabolism is slow, so I can't eat anything with a lot of butter. So that's sad. Something to look forward to, y'all. But I'm with Peyton on soup dumplings. Yeah, Lacey knows what I'm talking about. I'm with Peyton on soup dumplings, and then in Taiwan we have this thing called lu fan, which I don't know what the English is. It's like minced pork with rice. It's really simple, but it's like our most famous street food, and you have to cook it for 5 days. So that for sure. I would not add boba. You're supposed to add boba, which we also invented. I know that'll get me canceled, but yeah, not a big boba fan. Sorry. It's like Sway can't eat spicy. I don't like boba. We're both enemies of the state.
My heart. Boba is my life.
I'm so sorry, Sway. When you get to my age,
God.
conventional sugar is not a friend.
Boba is my life.
Oh, that's amazing. I love it.
Well, I think that's all the time we have, unfortunately, but I want to thank Goldhouse for their work towards more authentic representation and equity for the Asian Pacific American community. Big, did you want to add anything?
Just thank you so much for having us. I truly have never been the oldest person on the panel, and I was just texting his partner, Michael. I've never been more intimidated. So all I have to say is thank you all so much for, I actually mean that seriously. But no, just thank you all so much for having us. Congratulations on all the work. I hope this is truly the smallest thing you ever do. So the smallest project and so forth, so you continue to grow. And, Gold House, as well as so many other wonderful organizations, are looking forward to lighting up your careers even more.
This has been illuminating and fun, and I believe vital to the ongoing conversation that needs to further the platform for Asian Pacific Americans. I want to thank everyone for joining today, especially these incredibly talented actors and director, for continuing to use their voice and their reach to make sure everyone knows we are here, we belong, and we deserve to see ourselves represented both in front of and behind the camera. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.